Welcome to Taking the High Road, a special show dedicated to the trucking industry, specifically at the confluence of recruiting, retention, and compliance. In the fourth year as the host of the show, I bring over 2 decades of industry experience, both on the carrier side as well as the vendor side. And each week I interview industry experts and thought leaders who bring their insight to the driver lifecycle as we discuss the industry's greatest challenges. I always appreciate your feedback, good or bad. Don't forget to leave a rating and a review. I'd also like to thank and highlight the show's valuable sponsors. Their dedication and commitment to the industry and to the show is greatly appreciated. If you're interested in being a sponsor of the show or joining me for an interview, please email Jeremy at takingthehigherroad.com. Now, this week, I'm honored to be joined by a longtime industry friend, Stormie Janzen, VP of Safety and Recruiting for Total Transportation of Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining me, Stormie.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's great to be with you.
I've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I'm glad we were finally able to make the time work. I'd love to talk about your journey into the industry. You know, what led you to the helm of safety and recruiting at Total Transportation of Mississippi. I'd love to get your take on the challenges of just managing risk in this challenging environment, and then we can certainly all get into the importance of being active and engaged in the industry. That's something that you've always been very active with, as long as I've known you. And then I'd also like to touch on the trucking industry's response to the hurricane disaster relief in the Southeast. Sure. That's something I know that Total Transportation has been in the midst of, and you're certainly a leader when it comes to women in the industry, hiring women and employing women. So I want to touch on that because I think that's a great banner to carry. And then lastly, we'll answer a question during our newest segment called Industry Health. So think we can get to all that?
Well, let's do it. Let's
we'll
jump in.
Give it a shot. And to add to that, as you probably know, I start every conversation with a book recommendation. So if there's a book that you've read, whether it's on Audible or physically, that you can share that's been impactful for you, that's been great.
Okay. Well, I guess in terms of books, this is a book that I do a little lunch and learn with the ladies here in the office, and what I do is I invite successful women in from the community to come in and talk to them. And this is one that one of our presenters recommended to us, and it is called "The Rejection That Changed My Life." So it's by Jessica Bacall. Great book.
The Rejection That Changed My Life, and I'm guessing it's like based on the title, because I've not heard of it, so I'll add that to my Goodreads account. But it's one of those things where it sounds like it's like, hey, sometimes it might seem like a really bad thing, but there's good things that come from it, and it's the attitude and perspective. Is that
exactly? That's exactly what it is. It takes.
So I don't need to read it then.
I know, right? That was a nutshell. Cliff notes right there.
So, but that's awesome. I love stuff like that because it's so much. A lot of the books that I like to read are about helping you to get the proper perspective on things. And certainly, the last 2 years have given us all a really good opportunity to focus on things that, are the bigger picture and what's most important, and prioritizing things, because it's been tough. And, I want to talk about you. I want to talk about Stormie. And I know that with that name, this is not the ideal time, hurricane season, but, my history goes back with you to your days at the American Trucking Association. Can you share how you made your way to the trucking industry and what eventually led you to Total Transportation of Mississippi?
Sure. So I actually started on Capitol Hill. So I worked for 10 years in the United States Senate. And while I was there, obviously, I made some great connections. And one of the connections that I made, who was the Deputy Secretary for Defense under Rumsfeld, went on to become the Chief of Staff at the American Trucking Association. So he actually recruited me to come over and do speechwriting, which was a passion of mine. I actually have an English and philosophy degree, and so that was very intriguing to me, even though I didn't know much about trucking at that time. So he recruited me over, joined ATA, absolutely loved it, fell in love with the people and the industry. Moved on into membership while I was there, which gave me the opportunity to meet great folks like you and great folks like John Stomps, who is the founder of Total Transportation. So he later recruited me to Total, and here I am today.
Well, and that's awesome. I've met John. We're actually we sit on a couple of committees together. Certainly one of them being the Workforce Development Committee, and super good guy. And it's a great fit. I don't know that I was aware that he was the founder of the company. So that's exciting. In fact, maybe let's talk a little bit about Total Transportation. Could you share just a little bit more about the company, sort of where you operate? I'm going to take a really wild stab here and say it's Mississippi, but
well, our
but I know you're bigger than that.
Yeah, our corporate office is in Mississippi, but we've got terminals outside of Memphis, outside of Knoxville, and Pensacola. You know, we operate all 48 states. We're a truckload carrier, dry van, but we do have a brokerage arm, and we do it's a lot of dedicated work as well. So we're operating about a little over 1,000 trucks now.
Oh, okay. So sizable company, and certainly I would imagine been a challenging time, as it has been for everyone, not just on the carrier side, but on the vendor side too. I mean, it's one of those things. It's been tough for everybody, as the conversations that I've been having. But I referenced earlier your level of engagement and how active you have always been in the industry, and I know Total has been as well. How important is that? And I'm saying this not so much for you, because you get it, but it's really for the audience who might not be that active or engaged in the industry. How important is being so active, and how has that benefited you personally as well as Total Transportation?
Sure. And I have a unique perspective on this because I did work in the Senate for 10 years. So, and the member that I worked for, his occupation, he was a lawyer, right? And so that was where his expertise fell. And so I learned pretty quickly that, while he was very good in the legal side, he may not have known a lot about healthcare. He may not have known a lot about transportation and some of these other issues that come up. And so you quickly have to have people to bring those to you. So there is the importance of the trade association, right? They can bring that expertise to someone who may not have it. And then move that a step further. And now from the company side of things, I see that even those lobbyists that we have at ATA, who are very good and doing a great job of telling trucking story, they don't necessarily understand the day-to-day that we're dealing with and how those regulations actually affect us and what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. So being engaged from the corporate level it is so important to be able to tell that other side of the story and to get in front of them and just educate. I mean, that's the real thing. And for us, it's invaluable. I mean, not only do you learn about changes in regulations and things like that immediately, or as quickly as you can, and get to make those changes that you need in your business. It's just, I can't say enough about it. I would encourage everybody to get involved. And obviously, I'm a little biased because I worked in membership, but
yeah, but you really focused on the advocacy side, which I think is unique because now plenty of people understand how important that is, and understand that if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu, right?
That's
so
right.
It's important to be at the table, to be a participant there. But there's also so much to be said for the networking opportunities, because as big as an industry it is, it's still very tight, and people do business with people they know, they like, and trust. And it's another benefit of being active, of being engaged, opportunities that can be created because of that, engagement. And this is year 21 for me in trucking, and it's one of those things where I didn't come from a background in trucking. I was an outsider, came in, but I said, I'm going to be all in if this is what I'm going to do. And it didn't take long to realize how special the industry is in terms of the relationships that you can build that last a lifetime. And I say this all the time. And it's and I think that's unique. I don't think that exists in a lot of other industries. I came from a finance side, and that's certainly what didn't exist there. But I do think that that backdrop is important, especially as when we deal with things like COVID, when we deal with things like, what we're going through just right now in your region, right? The hurricane and disaster relief that's taking place there. I know Total Transportation's in the midst of it, not just because you're there and you're saying, hey, we're here, we're going to help. And I don't want to touch on that, but also you have you have drivers in the area, a lot of them. So can you share just what's total transportation doing? How are you kind of helping, and how is the industry coming together to help in these challenging times there?
And this is one of the best parts of the industry, right? I mean, just the way they respond to things like this. I mean, I will tell you, our driver population, the minute everything moved through, and I don't know that anyone really expected what happened in North Carolina and Tennessee. I mean, if you live in Florida, you expect that some of those things are going to happen, but certainly North Carolina and Tennessee, it just kind of caught them off guard. And our drivers immediately raised their hand and said, what can we do? How can we do this? Can we haul a load? And we do a good bit of work with FEMA and that kind of thing. And the drivers take such pride in being the one to haul that load and to work on that. It is so heartwarming to see. And really, like I said, it's the best part of being in the industry, because it's not just total transportation. Obviously, trucking companies all over the country are doing the same thing, coming together and doing what they can. U.S. Express, who we're affiliated with, they're doing a huge drive to get relief supplies to their terminals to be able to send out. Like I said, we've done some FEMA things. We even have drivers that are trying to cash in vacation so that they can donate those monetary proceeds to the effort. So, like I said, it's everybody. It's not just total, but it's the best part of the industry.
Well, for sure. And I think, I referenced COVID because I go back to that timeline and I remember the outpouring of support and praise for trucking and the truck driver. And then I don't want to say that we forgot about it, but, you're back to business and stuff. And then, when things like this happen, these sort of disasters happen, and we're right back in the thick of it again, raising our hand, like you said. Like, I think we just need to make sure that it's constantly in the public's mind. We're the good guys. We do good things. How do we be sure that the rest of the public remembers how important trucking is in times like this? And
and that's a challenge, right? Because as you drive down any interstate in the country, you see the big billboards, or have you been in a truck accident, and like we're the big bad wolf kind of thing. And I think ATA does a great job of promoting the industry. Their Nothing Without Trucking campaign that they're doing right now, the video on that is really incredible if you haven't seen it. But I don't think we ever, I think it's the nature of trucking to, we're going to be there, we're going to do our part, we're going to raise our hand, but I don't know that we're not going to put it in your face, right? I mean, we're going to do it because it's what we do and it's the right thing to do. And I do think, though, that being there because we're really kind of the second responders, right? The first responders come in and then we come in because we're obviously the ones that are delivering to these stores and all of that. I think people do start to understand the essentiality of trucking when you have a natural disaster like this, and they go to the grocery store and they're out of water and they're out of toilet paper and all of that. It's the same kind of thing that happened with COVID. So,
well, and total transportation has received some recognition. I'm switching gears a little bit from the disaster relief, but I mentioned earlier about women in the industry. That's certainly been a challenge as we are constantly having the dialogue around, driver shortage and so on. And certainly a large portion of the population is not in the industry, women. And there's certainly been an effort to get more. You have been a spearhead. Total has been at the forefront of this. And I think, is it 3 years now, or where you received
it? Yeah, it's 3 or 4 now, right? Yeah.
Top employer for women, top company for women to work for, which is, I think, an awesome honor. That doesn't happen without intention. I'm guessing that is something that you have really made an effort to make a difference there. And can you share a little bit about that? And what is that percentage of your total population now?
Yeah. So we have roughly 23% female drivers. And it is something that we have been very intentional about. Again, John Stomps, who founded the company, he recognized early on that women were better planners right?
Hey, they're safer drivers if you
Right. I mean, right. I wasn't even going to get to the ATRI study yet. I was going to say this was
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, the pre-ATRI study on this that did show that women were safer. He recognized that they were better planners, and that's not a necessity, right? If they're going to find a safe place to park, they have to be better planners. It's just part of it. So he really pushed recruiting more women early on. And that's something, it's kind of like if you build it, they will come, right? If like attracts like, because now we have built this community of female drivers and we market that. And like, again, we're very intentional about it.
I think that's fantastic. And in fact, it's not just the industry that has taken notice, right?
Right.
The federal government, right?
Right.
The secretary, the DOT secretary, Pete Buttigieg, visited you along with Administrator Lawless. Like, can you share about that? Like,
Well,
that's pretty cool.
No, you know what? That was a great opportunity for us. I don't care what your politics are, right? If you get the secretary and he wants to come in, you certainly open your door and you roll out the red carpet. And we had a great visit with him. He came in. We did pre-trip inspection with him, and I got to say, just his level of engagement with our drivers was just phenomenal. You know, he was down, squatted down, looking under the truck, doing all that over there. But then we sat down and we had a really candid roundtable discussion with him just on some of the issues facing women on the road. We had 3 or 4 drivers in. We had a woman here in the area who runs a truck driving school who was part of that conversation. And it was just great because, like you said, it was so candid. I mean, we even had a driver say, men are just nasty. To the secretary, and he was completely okay with that. But she was talking about restroom facilities and some of the challenges they face as shippers. But no, it was a fantastic visit. He stayed for a long time, and then he met with some of our veterans that work for us. So all in all, great visit.
Yeah, that's exciting. And to your point, it doesn't really matter politics. If you have an opportunity to get that sort of person at that high level to see what you're about and to listen, sure. and the fact that they're engaged, and that just makes it that much better. And I know that there has been a concerted effort. Truck parking is certainly a big issue. I know with one of the more recent ATRI studies reports that came out and kind of highlighted some of the complaints that drivers have. I know, depending on if you're a male or a female driver, the number 1 or number 2 reason was either truck parking and safety around that, or little or no access to exercise facilities, which that encouraged me. As you know, recently I have sort of undertaken what is a passion project of mine called Project 61. And I love it. Thank you for wearing that.
Absolutely.
It's something it's super important to me because the average life expectancy of a CDL driver being 61 years old is just it's just not okay. And I know that there's a lot of opportunities where this ecosystem that they operate in, we all are stakeholders, we all care. We just have to, increase awareness. We need to improve and increase education and the resources necessary to help make a difference. But that's why, and one of the reasons why I wanted to add a segment to Taking the High Road to the show about industry health. And sometimes it might be about the state of the health of the industry, right? Like, we kind of know right now it's like, it's not great, but we'll just muddle through it, But specifically around, in this case, sometimes it's going to be about a driver and how, maybe it's about nutrition, maybe it's about exercise and movement, maybe it's about sleep or mental health. But in this case, the question that I'd like to ask in the industry health section, which is sponsored by Project 61, is how do you get drivers to embrace health and wellness programs in order to improve their lives? And I know that Total Transportation has a program. It's one that you and I have talked about putting some more emphasis on it, making that more of a priority. But how do you get them to improve? Like, how do you get them to adopt? Because a lot of times companies will roll out a wellness program like that, and then drivers don't embrace it. So what do you think?
That's really the challenge, right? In fact, I told you the other day that we were kind of reinventing our program right now, because we started this years ago and did, we did all kinds of videos inside the truck, different exercise moves, and gave them, the resistance bands and did all of that. And I told you, I think when you told me about Project 61, when you first mentioned it to me, I don't know, maybe we're at mid-year, I don't know. And I said, Jeremy, that's a passion project of mine. And it really is, because there's so much to that, and certainly from a safety side, right? I mean, to have a driver that is dealing with mental health issues or is having just general health issues while they're on the road, that is a safety issue. So it's been something that I have really wanted to focus on. I've even looked at, partnering with one of the ready-made meal companies to get meals shipped in, which we end up having all kinds of sodium issues with all those kinds of meals. But I mean, we've looked at all kinds of different things. But I think the key to getting drivers engaged is really just continuing to focus on it, right? And bringing it up, because if you think about it, and you know this better than anybody, the retention in this industry, right? The drivers that we had 6 months ago, we're not going to have that same set of drivers. So you can't just roll something out one time. You have to continually bring it forward and make it part of a focal. We do a thing called Total Talk at Total, where we record a little thing 3 times a week, and various leaders in the company record it, and we talk about all kinds of different things. I often talk about things having to do with mental health or just fitness in general, or any of those topics. But again, it's just bringing it up over and over. It's providing those resources. In fact, I think one of your segments a while back, you had the trucker yoga lady on, and I went from that and ordered posters for every single one of my terminals. I thought, what a great idea, just to have these suggestions available to drivers. So it's a work in progress, but it's something we just have to keep our foot on the pedal.
Yeah, 100%. And an excellent point. You got to continue to bang that, drum, right? Continue to bang that drum and simplify it as much as possible. Try to make it as easy as possible. But also, one thing that I've recognized is that sometimes you've got to have the right incentive. And it doesn't mean, I'm not talking about like gamification or financial incentive, although I know that does resonate with some people. But for some, I remember hearing this in safety circles. You go to the TCA or ATA safety committee meetings, and we talk about this driver. He'll put the picture of his granddaughter in the dash, and that is that reminder of why I'm patient, why I'm safe, because I want to get home, because she means everything to me. Whatever it is, help to connect the dots and find that why, and hopefully that helps to not just improve the adoption from drivers to embrace, these programs to improve their lives, but also it has staying power because that little girl, or whatever
That's
it may
right.
be.
Absolutely.
So,
Good point.
So anyway, I know that I'm going to be seeing you at some upcoming events, and so this is my favorite time of year. At conference season, there's a lot of those. So I'm looking forward to see you. I thank you for joining me. I certainly appreciate that, and I'm thankful for your support and encouragement behind this passion project that we both share. That really means a lot to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you for taking the high road with me. Once again, special thanks to the sponsors of the show. We really appreciate you. If you're interested in being a sponsor or joining me for an interview, please email Jeremy at takingthehighroad.com. Until next time, thank you for taking the higher road.